When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do meaningful work every day. You get to be the biker who codes as fast as he rides, crafting advanced tech solutions that transform car buying. Or a guitarist who develops harmonious apps and websites, connecting people to people and businesses, all in real time. A savvy soccer mom running solution sets as passionately as she runs gameplays. Be the super secret keeper, designing cybersecurity systems to protect private data and websites. A planet protector, expanding EV battery life and inventing more ways to build a better future for all. When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do career-defining work that solves the greatest problems of our time. Join us and connect to work that improves lives, including yours. Learn more about our family of businesses at cox.career/tech.
Most weight loss plans are one size fits all, not taking into account each person's individual needs. Noom is here to change that. Noom Weight uses psychology. That's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. But it also takes into account your unique biological factors, which also affect weight loss success. The program helps you understand the science behind your eating choices and why you have cravings. Everyone's journey is different, so your daily lessons are personalized to you and your goals. One of the great things about Noom is that it's nourishing instead of restrictive. They focus on progress instead of perfection. You don't have to give up carbs, or anything for that matter. Have cravings? Food FOMO? Noom can help you lose weight while still enjoying your favorite foods. To date, Noom has helped more than 5.2 million people lose weight. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. That's Noom.com.
You're listening to Me and Paranormal You with your host, Ryan Singer. It's more fun to believe. Third year bonus.
And we're off and running to the races. Welcome to the show, everybody. This is your buddy Ryan Singer. Thank you for listening to Me and Paranormal You. Gobble, gobble, all that good stuff. Happy... I guess it's a holiday situation still. I guess until the end of the year, pretty much. So we had Thanksgiving, obviously, was yesterday. Today we celebrate Native American Heritage Day. So I guess most people would just assume today is a shopping holiday, which is, I guess it's just what happens under capitalism, I suppose. Anyway, so hope you're doing well. I hope you've had some fellowship and some enjoyable time with friends, family, loved ones, etc. I ate so much food that I actually almost got sick. I made some things for a Friendsgiving. I made some pigs in a blanket, which I've never made before. Big hit. I used some butter garlic that I made for them. People seem to like them. I also made my homemade eggnog, and I got a little left over, so I'll be enjoying that for the next day or two. I mean, I don't know how you can't get on board with eggnog. I live with a couple guys who aren't on board with eggnog, and it's causing a rift in the house. It's a house divided by eggnog, and I got to tell you, are you going to be on the right side of history on the nog conversation or not? I guess that's, chime in the comments. Anyway, if you'll indulge me, I'd like to talk a little bit about something that happened to me the other day. A couple of days ago, I was at a library in Burbank, California, one of my favorite libraries, just to get some work done for a few hours. And then I noticed a person next to me. And so, I wrote some thoughts down about that. But And so I should proofread this before I read it, but it led me into an interesting thought experiment that I had never really truly considered. I feel like I'm looking at a future me, the actual me from the future, at the library right now. Guy with long white hair, just reading a book. It's like, what am I reading? What else have I done? Why am I here in his past? His past is here with him in his present. If I met my future self, I'm not sure I'd know what to ask. I feel like I could answer a lot of my questions by just looking at me. Some great context clues are there to be seen. Am I in tattered clothing, or do I still kind of dress like I do now? Are there any new visible scars? That would be very telling. Do I now have a lot of tattoos for some reason, even though currently I have none? Am I able to still walk, or have I clearly been injured? Do I still have my teeth? Am I smiling? That's probably a big one. We usually can tell a lot about people right away. What would my first impression of me be? It is usually our future self that tells our present, quote, past self that we are the same person. What if our past or present or younger version tells our older self that they traveled in time? You'd think that our older selves would definitely recognize our younger version because we used to look like that, right? But if time is not linear, who is to say what the rule should be? What would I tell my future self? You cannot warn your future self about anything or give them tips on how to get rich. We all think we cannot alter our past by talking to our future. Would I show up and tell my future self, you're welcome? Or would I just have to apologize? Can you imagine your future self shows up looking like everything went wrong? And they cannot tell you why or how. You just have to know that things clearly fell apart somewhere along the way. Maybe even starting tomorrow. If I was to meet my future self knowing how I live my life now, who would I expect to see? Would I be nervous or excited to meet future me because of my current choices and lifestyle? I'd like to think I would like who I meet and see. I'm curious if I'd see me from the future and it would inspire me to live even healthier than I do now, which would not be that difficult. I would quite enjoy the change to meet my future me. Obviously, I would want advice, but I'd be more interested in knowing how he felt and if I figured anything out. What mystery did we solve, if any? It would be funny if my past came to me to tell me to get my shit together. Hey man, I don't do all that work so you could be wasting away my future. What a maniac. If my teenage self time traveled to see me now, what would he see and say about me? Shit, this is kind of a lot more introspective of an exercise than I initially thought. Would younger me help rekindle the joy and wonder of life in me? If I was given the chance right now to time travel for 48 hours, what year would I travel to? I'd seriously consider traveling to my 20-year future just to make sure older me looked okay and was happy. This is an ingenious hack, actually. Instead of going back into the past to try and inspire the younger version of me to do some things, I keep the control. How do we know that after we leave our younger self that we are going to do what we asked or stick to the plan? Instead, we travel to the future and see if we are screwing it up right now or not. What if our future is unfolding exactly like we dreamt and we just don't realize it? Then we go back in time, tell our younger selves to change things, and end up ruining our future. By traveling to see my future self, I am making sure I can actively be in control of either keeping the path to ensure I get the future I meet, or I make changes to try and avert the fate I brought upon ourselves to the best of my ability. I wonder if anyone else has thought of this yet. Basically, I'm sure they have, but it feels like meeting future me would be similar to meeting manifested me. I can do all kinds of manifestation work, but this would be seeing it in the literal flesh. I have previously focused on manifesting things when I should always be manifesting the energy or state of being in which I can have what I need. This just may be the key to unlocking my next step or phase. I will become, and I am, the receiving energy of the universe. Things will and flow to and through me. I can feel the energy as I write this now. It is as if past and future me have joined present me here today, and I am finally in sync with my non-linear path through the current lifetime. The energy is resonant. It is a subtle vibration that penetrates my bones, skin, and internal space. It is a nice feeling. I know that the things that unfold in my life next are incongruent with what will and should be for me. Or is it the iced coffee finally hitting me? I deeply feel like I am exactly where I am supposed to be right now, sitting in Burbank Library, writing this right now. My status in all other areas, my emotional, physical, and mental states, all these are right where and when they should be. I just had a very fun synchronicity happen right as I was writing this. Syncs are great reminders to be in the magic of each moment. It can be hard to not get carried away in the excitement of syncs sometimes. But it is also impossible to not be excited when you feel the vibratory resonance of past, present, and future self aligned, at least consciously hyper-aware of it. I do not know if I remember being so aware of this sensation at any time before. What's funny to me is that it is not happening. My awareness of it, anyway. It is not during some grand or elaborate meditation retreat or something so obviously in search of it. It is happening while I am writing, albeit about thinking I see my future self at a library, maybe reading a book from his future too. This man looked like me, I got to tell you. And I tried to, I didn't want to snoop on myself too much, but I tried to get the name of the book he was reading, but he kept falling asleep reading it. And I was like, this tracks, this makes sense that I'll be, 80 years old, falling asleep with super long hair, wearing like a light turquoise blue beanie, falling asleep in a chair in a library, wearing like slippers. It was right on par for the course, as they say, for how I see my future. Just that's my retirement, just hanging out in the library, falling asleep, reading books. I don't know. It sounds like a pretty good life. Anyway, so we come back. We got a lot more to discuss. I'm going to give you some updates on some investigation stuff, I suppose. Maybe we're going to get into the wild and wonderful world of disclosure more and things like that. So remember, patreon.com/Ryan Singer. No commercials, $3 a month. We'll be right back after this quick break.
When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do meaningful work every day. You get to be the biker who codes as fast as he rides, crafting advanced tech solutions that transform car buying, or a guitarist who develops harmonious apps and websites, connecting people to people and businesses, all in real time. A savvy soccer mom running solution sets as passionately as she runs gameplays. Be the super secret keeper, designing cybersecurity systems to protect private data and websites. A planet protector, expanding EV battery life and inventing more ways to build a better future for all. When you work in tech at Cox, you get to do career-defining work that solves the greatest problems of our time. Join us and connect to work that improves lives, including yours. Learn more about our family of businesses at cox.career/tech.
And I have returned. I hope you've returned as well. So, an interesting thing, I was in a group thread the other day, and we were kind of talking about some things, and we were talking about something that had happened, and Matthew Jackson had written in the group that yell, because I was texting him about like, oh, I see my future self right here at the library. It's wild. It's like 6 feet away from me. He goes, yell avalanche at him and see if he responds. And avalanche is a code word for when something may have gone wrong. In 2019 at an expedition in Florida, where the people who were kind of, acting, doubling as the security would, maybe pull out a firearm and have their finger on the trigger ready to shoot something, because that meant it was a very serious code word for meaning I'm in danger for my life or my safety. And so I'm laughing at that. And then sure enough, on the music, because I'm listening to music as I write, sure enough, it was 1:11 p.m. where I was. And let's see here. Let me make sure I get this right. It was the song. It was the song Avalanche, and I think it was. I thought it was Leonard Cohen. Yeah, it was the songs of Leonard Cohen and Avalanche. Let me see where that song is. I'm trying to make sure. Yeah, Avalanche by Leonard Cohen was playing. From his album Songs of Love and Hate album, and right at the same time. So at 1:11 p.m., as Matthew texts, yell avalanche, I'm listening to the song Avalanche by Leonard Cohen. And so that's the sync I was referencing when I said a very fun synchronicity just happened in that moment. So, it's things like this that really anchor us in the moment of our lives, of our days, right? That can keep us in the moment. And I think it's like life extension therapy when you can use synchronicities for this thing. You, at least for me, this is what they do. They extend the moments of my life that are filled with awe and wonder and joy and mystery, and therefore it deepens and enriches my experience of the moment and of my day, and it extends my experience of time. Therefore, it makes me live longer, even though someone on the outside looking in might be like, no, you still died at, 71 years or whatever it is, right? That's just an arbitrary number. And I'd be like, well, no, I lived longer than that because of these synchronistic moments, these syncs that happened along the way. They elongated my experience of the unfolding of time, meaning I've lived much longer than someone from the outside looking in may assume. Now, if we can do that on a regular basis, we can triple, quadruple, I don't know what, quintuple. I think that's, what's six? Sextuple? Who wouldn't want to sextuple their life? You know what I mean? It just sounds like it sounds saucier and longer. Let's sextuple our lives here. So yeah, for me, that's what it's, it could be just as simple as that. That could be the secret to happiness potentially could be it most assuredly has to be something that is so simple that it's staring us right in the face, right? The most ingenious and wonderful things seemingly are the most simple, and once stated are profound and resonate deeply. I know that's the case with comedy and with many other things. I think that's why the phrase "I love you" is so powerful. It is simple, it is short, and inherently sweet when we say it, and it can be so difficult to say. Not just for all of us, myself included, it can be difficult to say. I am sorry is another one that's difficult to say, but it's short and it's sweet. I think those moments when we release those words from our vulnerable cage, they also will, in the same way synchronicities do, they will elongate the time. They will freeze seemingly the passage and allow us a deeper, fuller experience of this physical form that, quite frankly, we don't get. One might say we don't get for long enough, and some of us might say we get it for too long. It's all perspective. But, meanwhile, the billionaires are trying to never have physical form die. And, we get into a little bit of this conversation. We have a great interview coming out next week. And so I don't want to, get too much into some of that stuff. I think or at least we're on the cursory of it, because it's a great conversation about near-death experiences. And I have rambled on quite a bit of times on this show about, my crazy theories about NDEs and OBEs, and how I think there's energetic impressions and they leave a mark. And are there, what is it? It's kind of some kind of like magical station that is left behind in the place where the energy of death happens. Potentially we've talked about that with my buddy Mario on the program before, about a physical location of an NDE actually being now a magical station, or that's what I'm calling it right now. I don't know if that's, an accurate term, or if I love that term or not, but yeah. So, okay, I don't even know how I got over here, but I do like the space that we're occupying currently in the conversation, on the stream of consciousness. Consciousness? Did I say consciousness? I'm conscientious about how I say consciousness. I am so conscientious about how I say consciousness. I feel like you just kind of swap the syllables, consciousness and conscientious and conscious. What is happening? Someone asked me yesterday, "Are you so old that you're getting younger?" I was like, "How old do you think I am?" Is it because I might piss myself and lose my words? Yes, then maybe I am, is the answer. Am I more than halfway? Who knows? But regardless, we're going to try to do our best to drink as much nog as we can before we have to, cash our check, or pay the tab on our way out. What's interesting too about, synchronicities, I think, I'm curious if there, obviously I believe there's potentially categories of synchronicities and things they serve. I don't think it's a one sync serves all purpose, I don't, one size fits all kind of thing. For me, synchronicities mostly are deepening the moment of the now and elongating my experience here on the physical plane. That's not to say that I can't also have experiences with synchronicities where they just remind me that I'm on the right path, or they give me reassurance about a future decision that I'll be making. I don't know. I've been doing a meditation program. I've been getting pretty good into it for the last few weeks now, or last couple weeks. And, it's about patterning and futuring. That's a word, sure. And manifesting and things like that. And I want to talk a little bit more about the manifestation process when we get back. We're going to do another quick break here. Just a reminder, go to Patreon. You can be a free patron and you still get commercial free, at least one or probably two episodes each month for free. Thank you to everyone who's been signing up over there. And I have the Bigfoot video up over there right now, by the way, so you can go check that out. I think that's for all paid patrons. I can't remember the tier, but we'll be right back. Okay. I didn't have the microphone near my face at all as I returned from that commercial break. So some fun things just happened. I hit pause so I could, and I actually had to delete a little bit and come back and record because I couldn't remember what I was talking about, and I was all over the place, as you might imagine. I grabbed The Prophet by Kahlil Gibran, which is on my bookcase at arm's length. And I was getting ready to read a passage from The Prophet. And I open up the beginning of the book. I realize it has a personal inscription from 1971, written in pen. Now, this book was written, 101 years ago now. It's to Eva and John. Regarding pages 80 and 81, this passage was read at Moth and Poteet's service from Jean, Helen, Evan, and Warren, Christmas, 1971. And I did not open to those pages, but we'll get to those in a second. We're going to discover what those are together. We're talking about manifestation. We're talking about synchronicities. So let's see if one happens. I was getting ready to record, by the way, right before we get into this. I swear I'm getting into it. Your friend and mine, the host of Euphomet, Jim Perry, is calling. So that's why I had to hit stop recording. And I hit the wrong button. I hit the cancel button, the red button. Send it, just to hang up. So I was like, oh, shoot. So I call right back. And Jim's like, hey, what's up? And I was like, hey, sorry, man. I, hung up on accident when you called. And he goes, what are you talking about? He didn't call me. And so I thought he was fucking with me, messing with me. And he did call me, just wasn't telling me he did. He thought I was messing with him. Anyway, ended up having a great chat, as always, of course. But so weird, fun. The universe wanted us to be speaking in that moment. So let's read from page 31 of The Prophet, Kahlil Gibran. Then a mason. Wait, is this the... Okay, I guess it is. Wait, I don't think this is what I was going to read. Shucky darn here. Oh, shucky darn. We're going to read it anyway and see what sync happens. Because I had a passage specifically set aside. I didn't mark it. Then a mason came forth and said, speak to us of houses. And he answered and said, build of your imaginings a bower in the wilderness, ere you build a house within the city walls. For even as you have homecomings in your twilight, so has the wanderer in you, the ever distant and alone. Your house is your larger body. It grows in the sun and sleeps in the stillness of the night, and it is not dreamless. Does not your house dream, and dreaming leave the city for grove or hilltop? Would that I could gather your houses into my hand, and like a sower scatter them in forest and meadow. Would the valleys were your streets, and the green paths your alleys, that you might seek one another through vineyards, and come with the fragrance of the earth in your garments. But these things are not yet to be. In their fear, your forefathers gathered you too near together. And that fear shall endure a little longer. A little longer shall your city walls separate your hearths from your fields. And tell me, people of Orphalese, what have you in these houses? And what is it you guard with fastened doors? Have you peace, the quiet urge that reveals your power? Have you remembrances, the glimmering arches that span the summits of the mind? Have you beauty that leads the heart from things fashioned of wood and stone to the holy mountain? Tell me, have you these in your houses? Or have you only comfort and the lust for comfort, that stealthy thing that enters the house a guest and then becomes a host and then a master? Aye, and it becomes a tamer, with a hook and scourge makes puppets of your larger desires. Though its hands are silken, its heart is of iron. It lulls you to sleep, only to stand by your bed and jeer at the dignity of the flesh. It makes mock of your sound senses and lays them in the thistledown like fragile vessels. Verily, the lust for comfort murders the passion of the soul, and then walks grinning in the funeral. But you, children of space, you restless in rest, You shall not be trapped nor tamed. Your house shall not be an anchor, but a mast. It shall not be a glistening film that covers a wound, but an eyelid that guards the eye. You shall not fold your wings that you may pass through doors, nor bend your heads that they strike not against a ceiling, nor fear to breathe lest walls should crack and fall down. You shall not dwell in tombs made by the dead for the living, and though the magnificence and splendor Let's start that again. And though of magnificence and splendor, your house shall not hold your secret, nor shelter your longing. For that which is boundless in you abides in the mansion of the sky, whose door is the morning mist, and whose windows are the songs and the silences of night. It turns out this was the passage I wanted to read. I went a little further back than I initially anticipated. What's interesting to me about this book is a beautiful book. It is what many would consider to be a masterpiece. It is one of these philosophical, spiritual books that is often, quoted, referenced, and, mentioned as being an inspiration to many people and many thinkers, many people who like to sit around and think and like to do those kinds of things. But it kind of touches on the Rutger Bregman book, Humankind, and what civilization has done to the human creature, the human animal, when we stopped and we set up shop and we put up walls and we said we owned land, and all the things that come with quote-unquote civilized human society, and how those can be traced as, or those can be traced back to, or the problems that we face in society can be traced back to those things, right? When we were hunter-gatherers, we were not nearly the creature we are now. And I mean, look at nationalism. Make America great again. That bullshit. Like it's all about like, this is us and the others right, outside of us. Right. It's disheartening, and it brings upon it a dark cloud, instantly hovers when even mentioning it and talking about it. Like right now, I can feel its darkness. I can feel the energy. I can feel the nature of the vibration bringing me down, wanting me to give in to the sadness about it all. And we must extricate ourselves from that mud and rise above. And this passage, this section of the book is just so beautiful. It lulls you to sleep, only to stand by your bed and jeer at the dignity of the flesh. Verily, the lust for comfort murders the passion of the soul, and then walks grinning in the funeral. How many people do you know won the game of capitalism and are miserable wretches? They just can't be happy unless they're pissed off. Sound familiar? The comfort murders the passion of the soul. I mean, it's shocking, really. And to me, it goes to the point of they understand they were conned. They were lied to. They played the game the way they were told to be happy, to be successful, to quote-unquote make it, and they are not fulfilled. They do not have inner peace, joy, or happiness, and now they realize they spent the better part of their most active and physically capable years, their virulent years, hustling on the grind and the rat race to accumulate the things so that their retirement will be lush and plush and lavish, only to realize that they're not happy and it's not making them happy, and there is no joy to be had in winning the game. And so now they're pissed. And that anger gets displaced, and they will lash out at those who choose not to play the game. They will lash out at the children of space. You restless in rest. You shall not be trapped nor tamed. Your house shall not be an anchor, but a mast. Anyway, there's lots of things that fall into this category as well. And maybe we can get into a little bit of that when we get back. You know, because we're talking about things in the world that aren't accepted as truths. And, you know, and the lies that have been told. And, you know, and by lies that have been told, I don't mean there's a group of 6 guys sitting around who are lizards going, these are the lies we shall tell. You know, that's not, we're going to be right. We got to take this commercial break. We'll be right back before I start doing a lizard monologue. Okay, I'm back, and I really do want to go into a lizard monologue right now.
Listen to me, earthlings, creatures of flesh, you undignified animals of bloodlust and cannibalistic nature. You need civilization to transcend your animalistic behavior, and the reptilians are here to give you such.
Okay, so I'm not going to keep going with that. We don't need to lean into the darkness. I mean, this whole book, I'll probably reread it now because it is a beautiful piece of literature. And it's one of those books where you read it, you're like, oh, I'm inspired to be a children of space, you know, be a child of space, you know, and my home will be my mast and not my anchor. And that's the way I view things. And, you know, and make no mistake about it, I live in a city that is rat race. It's like rat race central over here. I live in Los Angeles, California. You know, you live in a place like Los Angeles, New York City, Chicago, San Francisco, Atlanta, any big city, the rat race is magnified, right? The rat race, it exists everywhere, make no mistake about it. But the rat race is a little more intense when you're surrounded by 11 other rats. You know, all in the same basic area. And I love being surrounded by rats, to be clear. I love having people around me. I love being able to go to a 24-hour diner at 1 a.m. to have coffee and write weird shit about what I think manifestation might be. Or, because I do want to talk about the manifestation energy and how I think I had been doing manifestation askew, let's say that. I don't want to say incorrectly, but my idea of manifestation really crystallized recently. Because we can talk about that, and we can talk about my buddy Jim Berner too, because we're going to have him back on the program talking about idealism and Hegel and crystals and natural magic and things like that. And see how this all is tying in together. Whether it's Humankind by Rutger Bregman, talking about how humans were more happy when we were hunter-gatherers, living more so within a harmonious balance with nature. Gibran is talking about, you know, the home, the accumulation of things becoming your master, murdering your free spirit, or at the very least caging it and imprisoning it. We had a conversation with Jim previously, a few months back, you know, kind of launching from the idealistic or the idealism point of view, where everything in the world is consciousness and perception. The material world only exists potentially through our senses of consciousness. So where are we headed, and where do we go? And are we in the death throes of, you know, the capitalistic monster? And I believe we are. And, you know, I've been saying that for a while. And we will revert back, or at least a portion of us will revert back. I mean, because listen, let's face it, not everybody has the time like I do to get all woo-woo wild one when you're, you know, raising children and all these other, and have mortgages and et cetera, et cetera. That's not to mean that that doesn't mean that there's not a chance for that to happen, because there is, most certainly, because there's people who do that. But what is the And to be clear, I don't think that there's, 6 lizard people coding the matrix for all of us. I don't buy into that. Whether it's true or not, I don't buy into it. Okay, so that's just not where I fall on all of this stuff. I'm about empowerment, not disempowerment. Fear disempowers people, and now you rely on other people to save you from the thing you're afraid of. Empowerment, it's about the individual, empowering the individual. And that's what most psychics and most energy and, spiritual workers and holistic energy workers will tell you. They are giving you the tools to empower yourself to do things. That's what I love about really good shamans and energy workers. They are, and people who are also trying to help you tap into your psychic abilities and your mediumship abilities. They're trying to empower you to take control and to do the things. That's what I love about, great guided meditation programs, where it's trying to help you understand that you are more than your physical body, and that, and because you are more than your physical matter, you can perceive that which is greater than the physical world. And once you expand into that, you can now understand, control, know, and experience energies that are greater and above and beyond what you maybe previously have thought you were able to access, which ties into the idea of manifestation. And we talk about manifestation a lot on here, and it's a very popular word in the last 5 years. So what does it even mean? I've got the supplies, most of the supplies. I'm still missing a few things to really knock out my vision board that I want to make. I've got the things to even hang it up now. I'm very excited about this. And I'll post some over on Patreon. I'll post my vision board on Patreon. I'm not afraid to do that. So just don't make fun of me when you see it's a picture of me surrounded by 4 babies, because I want to have quadruplets. I'm going to actually, I better not even joke about that. I should not even joke that I want to, have, I'm also 48 years old. The jury's pretty out on me having children, but stranger things have happened, certainly indeed, but I better be knocking on some wood here. Anyway, what is the energy? What is the thing that we're manifesting? And this is what I realized. I was listening to an early edit of my buddy's talk about Hegel, consciousness, crystals, and natural magic, and it something really profound clicked in me about why ancient people believed crystals to be so magical, and then because of how beautiful and symmetrical they were. Had a large part to do with it, probably. But then later science discovers that the crystalline structure inside of the structure of the cells was completely responsible for the outward form, and the different structures of crystals at the crystalline level, at the molecular level, were responsible for the variances and the difference in what crystal was actually formed and how it looked and what shape it would take, and some of these perfect, gorgeous geometrical shapes, these cubes, triangles, these clusters, and it hit me. Oh my God, this is manifestation. This is the imaginal world that I gotta get Noah back on the program. I'm going to message him at the next commercial break. If our thoughts create our external world, that is a phrase, that's a kind of a question, a prompt, right? You hear a bunch. Do you see how that mirrors the crystalline, the molecular structure of a crystal? Now, and some of this is going to sound obvious. Oh yeah, it's like your DNA makes your physical body. Yes. The internal is responsible for the external. It seems so damn simple, but it took a beautiful, beautiful crystal to teach me that lesson. And that's some lesson I'm trying to integrate currently. We're going to be right back after another short break. And we have returned yet again. Okay, I messaged my buddy Noah. We're going to try to get Noah back on the show ASAP. ASAP Rocky is what we're going to do here. Okay, so we're talking about meditation, my breakthrough, which is so damn obvious. It just seems so clear and so simple. Like we mentioned at the very beginning of this, sometimes the greatest things and the most wonderful insights are the most simple and right in front of us. And that was what this was for me. And what this realization has led to, and I am desperately trying to incorporate this into my overall and permanent mindset. Permanent is, it's a word I use here, but let's be clear. Permanence is, I think, probably an illusion in most, if not all things. Nonetheless, the integration of this idea that it is truly the internal that creates the external. That is something that I just understand it in a different way now. And it's like when a new nodule of your brain pops out. That's how I usually describe it. I feel like my brain just got bigger, but in reality, my mind has increased in dense or in richness as opposed to becoming larger. It's all about understanding how large your mind was to begin with and understanding the true nature of the expansiveness of such a thing and a connection. And that perception is what leads us to utilization of this expansive power and these new opportunities for us. As far as I can tell, is where we're headed. I've got big things that I've patterned for myself coming up very, very soon, and they will unfold and they will happen, and I'm very excited about that. But in the meantime, I'm trying to make sure I stay anchored in the present moment and not living in the future. I don't want these things to be anchoring me. Because I think these ideas, like Gibran says, a home can be an anchor and not a mast. I think these ideas, these physical, they become these physical things when we think them into existence, right? I don't want my ideas, my wants, my desires, my wishes. I also don't want them anchoring me. They also need to be a mast. It's not just a physical home I could buy somewhere that will do this. Like if I, bought a home somewhere in the green triangle or something, right? Or the golden triangle. These ideas, these wishes, these wants, these desires, these manifestations that I have patterned, I can't let them anchor me either. So, but the idea is where the juice is. The thought creates the external, right? And through the crystalline structure of a crystal and therefore creating the outward form, it just resonated with me in a way that it hasn't previously. Sometimes it takes me way too long to get something that maybe or it takes me, I shouldn't say way too long, that's a judgment statement. It takes me longer than it might take other people to understand maybe a simpler concept. For me to know it, for me to feel the truth of a thing, sometimes takes me longer. For example, there's a great book called The Easy Way to Stop Smoking, written by Alan Carr, R.I.P. Alan. You have done the world a great service in your time in the physical form by putting that book out into the world. Because millions of people have freed themselves from the nicotine trap from your work. So we thank you. And we are grateful for that. I read the physical copy of that book in combination with listening to the audio book upwards of 40 times in the last 15, 20 years to try to stop smoking, to become a non-smoker. Every time I read it or listened to it, it was as if I picked up and actually truly understood another small segment of the book. Like really got it. You know what I mean? And it wasn't until probably the 40th time I quote unquote read that book, if we're going to combine the audio and the physical, that it clicked on all cylinders front to back for me. And here we are 2.5 years later, nicotine free. But it took me 40 times to read that book. And people are like, the book doesn't work. You've read it even if you've read a book 5 times, that's supposed to make you stop smoking when you read it, and you still smoke. People are like, the book doesn't work, man. You gotta accept the fact that this book doesn't work. And I'd be like, the book only doesn't work if I give up on it, right? And that was my attitude. And let alone 20 times. Can you imagine reading a self-help book 20 times and it hasn't done the thing it's supposed to do, and you keep reading it? Now double that. That's what I did. Does that make me a crazy person? Maybe it does. Or maybe I'm a believer. Maybe I just won't give up and I want to believe, right? And that's what drives me. And I don't want to give up on myself or the book. You can't just believe in yourself and not believe in anybody else. That seems pretty selfish, right? Imagine only believing in yourself. What kind of world would you build under those circumstances? So that's a good example of why or how it takes me longer than, say, other people. I know people who read the book once and they've been smoke-free for 20 years. It's a good example of how it takes me longer to have something click or to really get something from time to time. So, yeah. And I promised we would do a random, or we would go to 80 and 8. Oh my God, I'm on 80 and 81. This is what was read at the service from the inscription. Wow, 52 years ago. That was written to Ava and John. Let's read it. Page 80 from the prophet. Then Almitra spoke, saying, "We would ask now of death." And he said, "You would know the secret of death, but how shall you find it unless you seek it in the heart of life? The owl, whose night-bound eyes are blind unto the day, cannot unveil the mystery of light. If you would indeed behold the spirit of death, open your heart wide unto the body of life. For life and death are one, even as the river and the sea are one. In the depth of your hopes and desires lies your silent knowledge of the beyond. And like seeds dreaming beneath the snow, your heart dreams of spring. Trust the dreams, for in them is hidden the gate to eternity. Your fear of death is but the trembling of the shepherd when he stands before the king, whose hand is to be laid upon him in honor. Is the shepherd not joyful beneath his trembling, that he shall wear the mark of the king? Yet is he not more mindful of his trembling? For what is it to die but to stand naked in the wind and to melt into the sun? And what is it to cease breathing but to free the breath from its restless tides, that it may rise and expand and seek God unencumbered? Only when you drink from the river of silence shall you indeed sing. And when you have reached the mountaintop, then you shall begin to climb. And when the earth shall claim your limbs, then you shall truly dance. Now I can see why that was read at a memorial service or a funeral service. It's beautiful. There's a great piece of art that goes along with it. It essentially shows someone kind of in the process of an out-of-body experience, leaving their body and kind of ascending. You would know the secret of death. You know, we got to take another break. That's the music. And when we do that, we're going to come back and we're going to put a bow on this bad boy. Now, has this been hyper paranormal? No, I don't think it has. But I think we've covered a lot of ground here today, and I'm happy about that. I find joy in such things. And we're going to put a bow on the manifestation energy. What I mean by that, just in case you've never got into manifestation, and I'm gonna keep you abreast of the progress and of what happens in the great unfolding. We'll be right back. And I have returned. I hope you have returned as well. Thank you for being along today on this ride with Kahlil Gibran and amongst others. I'm happy to be alive, and I'm happy that you're sharing this space-time continuum, at least this pocket, with me. And also to the patrons, thank you so much. We've got more patrons coming over and joining the fun community over there each week, and I appreciate that. It goes a long way, and it does. It really does, especially because I don't tour as much as I had been in the previous 15 years. So, every penny counts in helping sustain, the mind cave. So I want to talk a little bit about this manifestation. I'm listening to the lecture that I'll be, linking and promoting in the future when it's finished. And we're going to have Jim back on the program. We've been talking about the prophet and, physical things being an anchor as opposed to a mast. And basically it kind of comes down to materialism versus idealism, Record Bregman's humankind, and how human beings as hunter and gatherers were much less bloodthirsty before we started thinking we could own property, and et cetera, et cetera. So when it comes to the manifestation of things, I think we all want freedom, right? And I think we all want to feel less burdened by things. And the things that can burden us, specifically someone like me, full disclosure, would be, let's say, a large amount of debt that you've accumulated trying to live this life out on the float. And, unfortunately, plastic plays out on the float and things like that, right? So, for example, someone like me would be manifesting more financial freedom, maybe more stability, less stress, more comfort, ease of mind, less worry. That's kind of the vibe, right? So if you're like me, you might be like, I want to manifest $200,000. Get me in the clear, and I'd maybe be able to buy a tiny house somewhere, something like that, right? Let's just say hypothetically. So you, okay, now is that thing going to be a burden now? Is that going to be an anchor to you, right? Or should I be manifesting my future self to have a vibration, to have a receptiveness, to be a magnet for such things of abundance that can flow to and through me, to therefore ease my worry and squash my concern, pay off debt, etc. Right? As opposed to, now specificity is important according to certain meditation programs and people who have had a lot of success doing these certain things. Specificity. It's a specific city. It's a specificity city. Oh boy. Here we go. I'm gonna have to have some eggnog after this. So, specificity. I don't care if I'm saying it right anymore. Specificity is important. This word doesn't make sense anymore, man. It doesn't even have any meaning now. Specificity. It's definitely not specificity. It's specificity. Jesus, Odin, and Valhalla. Anyway, the more specific you can be, the more effective can the manifestation become. And, the old monkey paw thing. You got to be careful. My buddy was trying to manifest a Cane's chicken joint over here on the west side of Los Angeles. And then we found out that our favorite diner, the property is now owned by Cane's. And we're like, oh, are they going to get rid of our favorite diner? And he's like, it's a real monkey paw thing. So did he manifest our favorite diner going away so it could be replaced by a Cane's, which would be a tragedy. So specificity is important when it comes to this, but also in the inner becomes the outer, right? Because I think it is important, at least, for this exercise here today, or for this explanation here today, or these musings, to let you know that I'm very grateful, and I have an abundance of things in my life that are basically an embarrassment of riches throughout my life. And I am very aware of that, and I'm very grateful for that as well. And, I want for nothing, typically. That's not to say that there aren't certain things that could make my life less stressful, because certainly that is also the case. So what I need to do is I need to manifest the energy, the vibration, the receptiveness of myself, of my higher self, of my energy itself, to become that as a receiver of these abundant things, good, not bad. And repattern the thoughts, the waves, the vibrations that I'm sending out to facilitate such a thing to happen. This is the work in progress, right? This is the thing that we do. This is the thing that I'm doing. And I have to have my self-care pattern or my self-care regimen in place to get through stress, to get through sorrow, to get through depression, disappointment, etc. Now that it's colder outside, even in Los Angeles, gets into the 40s at night. The sun goes down at like 4:30, and I'm a lizard. You know that. So I don't like to be gallivanting around outside in nature when it's dark and cold out nearly as much as I do when it's hot, sunny, and bright. So I had to join a gym again. So now I've joined a gym again because I know I'll be much more likely to go to the gym at 9 o'clock on a Friday, which I'll probably do tonight, and exercise than I would, taking a hike in the dark at 7 p.m. at night and have to be all bundled up because, I'm a coward to the cold. Basically, I'll need gloves on and a scarf to go do that. So, these patterns, these routines help us get through difficult times. And things that we can rely on, like, some kind of internal practice. I talk to my therapist once a week. I'm trying to do physical exercise. I'm getting back into the groove on work and getting, 2 episodes of the podcast out every week, which always makes me feel better when I do that. Doing shows, writing, things like that, being busy, yet also making time for life and things like that. So I am manifesting energy, right? So my vision board specifically will have something that's representative of me having more energy to elongate my life, right? To make those moments last, and also to be okay when the moment has passed, because that's the great thing about living. We have these beautiful moments that we wish would last longer, but then they end. And we could be filled with sorrow, or we could transition to anticipation for the next great moment that may arise or may surprise. That's kind of where I'm at right now. And I got to be honest, I've been surprised by a lot in my life. And when you're home, or when you do your darndest to make your home a mast so you can sail through space, or what I call beyond the float of life, surprises literally are around every corner or around every turn of the head, just to see what else is to your left or to your right or to behind, Now you're shocked and surprised, usually pleasantly, I hope, by what you might see and by what is coming your way. And by what, when something is coming your way, let's make no mistake about it, as long as you're being active in the participation of, the agreement of life, something just isn't coming your way. Something is coming your way, but you are also headed towards something. And now keep in mind that something that is headed your way looks at you and says, oh, look, something's coming my way. And that thing is you. And that's what we need to do. We are headed toward and have it coming at us. We meet it, right? That's what I'm going to try to do. And I'm going to be keeping you updated, and I'll have $201,000 probably very soon. It's a very specific number that I think is a fun number to think about. But we'll go from there. I've got New Year's Eve shows. I'm on bandisintown.com now. If you're on Spotify, you should. I'd love it if you gave me follow my artist page. Band is in Town is a website for musicians and comedians to keep abreast of where we'll be traveling, where we're doing live shows, ticket links, etc. I'd appreciate if you. I linked it in my Instagram bio at Rysing. Give a follow at Rysing, RYSING. RyanSingerComedy.com also has everything you need. Thank you for joining today. Let's manifest greatness together. I think we're already doing it. And in fact, I know that we are. So I love you. I hope you love yourself. You deserve it. We all do. Let's try to remember that, especially right around now. I've got some, and it's so funny that we read that thing about those pages 80 and 81 from The Prophet by Kahlil Gibran about death is all around us. Death and life surround us, and because that speaks directly to the amazing conversation I have with the actor, medium, artist Lauren Osborne next week. I can't wait to share that interview with you. I'm gonna try to get the video for that one up as well. So keep your eyes on YouTube for that. I've been falling behind on that because it no longer just automatically feeds over, but I'm more energy to do more work, more access. Okay, awesome, man. What will the rest of this year bring? There's only one way to find out. And I'll see you at a live show or at the watering hole on the astral plane.